engaged and entertained.
Good morning. Welcome to Matenaer On Air. Thank you so very, very much for joining us. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Calvin Butenhoff on the board, coming to you live from our studio in beautiful downtown Waukesha. You can always join us if you want to call or text at 844-967-2789, 844-96.
Party.
That is correct. Or leave a message on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and or Twitter. Very busy show today. Lots of things coming up next hour. As she is every Thursday, Dr. Kristen Lyerly will be here with our public service announcement. And then at 11:33, J.R. Radcliffe from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel will be here. Doc Rivers getting a pretty nice paycheck as the new head coach of the Bucks.
Our third head coach we are now paying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he'll have details about that, I'm sure, and also about Joe Barry getting fired from the Packers and what is going to happen next. That is all coming up in hour number 2. Right now, though, we're going to start off with President Biden is coming to Wisconsin today. He will be at the Earth Rider Brewery in Superior. And according to the White House, we'll talk about how his administration is rebuilding infrastructure, lowering costs, spurring small businesses, and creating good-paying jobs.
Welcome back, Mr. President.
His visit just days after, and we talked about this, I think it was just on Monday, right?
Yeah.
Let's build bridges is what we were talking about. They announced $1 billion in new money to replace the 60-year-old Blatnik Bridge that connects Superior to Duluth, Minnesota. Funding for that money comes from the bipartisan infrastructure law that the Biden administration passed. It's also part of a nearly $5 billion investment toward 37 different transportation infrastructure projects around the country.
I mean,
things are getting done.
First, Tammy Baldwin announces that she brings home the bacon on the bridge. Brings home the bacon on the Blatnik Bridge.
Oh, ooh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Then, should have said it a little clearer. But, point is, then Kamala Harris comes to town. And then 72 hours later, Joe Biden's here.
And then Janet Yellen is coming to Milwaukee tomorrow, I'm pretty sure.
We're just going to set up their own little house. It's going to be a tiny little White House. They can all hang out, have a slumber party.
They can get a nice penthouse at the Couture, which is now renting.
Oh, that
downtown.
is in your mind forever now.
Oh, my gosh, yes. I was looking at some pictures. Anyway, I don't see how this is a bad thing.
No.
For any of us.
I don't think that... If you're the president of the United States of America and stuff like this is happening, there's infrastructure taking place, there's money being spent on good things, I don't care what party you're a part of. You should get on the plane, go to where you want, talk about it, tell people. Because there's a lot of people out there, as we have stated before, who think the country is in a lot worse shape than it is. So it's important for their leaders to get out there and say, no, we're doing things. And with this infrastructure deal, we're doing it together. We did it together.
It was a bipartisan agreement.
Yeah. I mean, call me naive or a fool. Call me whatever you want. But I think it is important to celebrate the wins. And you know what'd be awesome is if maybe like a Tom Tiffany came with and raised their hands and said, we did this together.
Tom Tiffany, by the way, whose district does represent Superior, voted against this.
Never mind.
And yet I'm surprised he hasn't come forward and said, look what I did. Maybe too many people would just call him on it and say, yeah, no, Tom, you didn't actually.
Did he ask for money? That's the question I would have. We'll check into that because that's the whole beef we have right now is everyone saying they voted no, but now they're asking for $100 million here, $2 million there. After a while, it starts to seem like real money.
It is real money.
Yeah.
844-967-2789, 844-967-2789. Stephen from Green Bay. Good morning, Stephen. Thank you for joining us. What did you want to say?
Hey guys, I had a bit I wanted to share with you too, and it kind of ties into what you guys are talking about with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris coming this week to the state of Wisconsin. I was in bed listening to music, as I do every night, and I ran across this new song by Cody Lee. He was the winner of America's Got Talent, And the name of the song is Change, and I encourage you guys to listen to it because it got me thinking. And that's exactly what we need, not only in this state, but in this country, is we need change. We need to stop talking about change, and we need to do something about it. With that being said, I think that the younger generation has a really good opportunity to introduce that change, and I think we're trying. But also, I don't think that Kamala Harris coming here and then Joe Biden coming here, I don't think that's by mistake. I think they also know that there needs to be some real big changes in this country, and I think they know that those changes are going to directly run through the state of Wisconsin. And I think this is not the last we're going to see of those two. I think they're going to be hitting our state hard, and they should, because us as Wisconsinites have a unique opportunity to be at the forefront of introducing that change. And we have a great responsibility of doing so, and taking that responsibility and that privilege of introducing that change seriously and not squandering it like generations have in the past. That's all I got to say.
Appreciate that, Stephen, and we always appreciate you checking in, and certainly thank you for listening. Absolutely, change is going to come through Wisconsin. We are critically important in this next election.
And absolutely, it
critical.
Was not an accident whatsoever. I mean, these trips are planned methodically, and within an inch of its life, goes in. There's a lot that goes into this planning, and we're probably going to see
a lot more visits. We're going to get a lot more visits.
Probably upwards of like a dozen, if not more times.
Yep.
Stopping by Stevens Point, say hello, and then they're going to take off somewhere else. But no, you're right. We need the change. We need to make that change. And hopefully 2024 will not be as much of a heart attack election that was 2020, but I think it's going to be. But we'll be here to help you get through it on Matenaer On Air.
There you go. Oh, nice. Clip that, Calvin. There's our promo for tomorrow. You can always join us, 844-967-2789, talking about President Biden stopping today in Superior to tout the $1 billion coming to improve the Blatnik Bridge, which separates Superior from Duluth. If you drive that bridge with any regularity, I would love to hear from you, first of all, so I can applaud you for your courage, because I crossed it during the summer a couple of years ago with my sister when we were traveling up there, and the weather was good. So I can't imagine going across that bridge, which is 60 years old, by the way.
Yeah. I would say
crossing that bridge in the winter must be terrifying.
I don't like crossing any bridges. Like, I know that I said it before, I know they're safe. One of the biggest ones that I'm scared of is the bridge that connects Indiana to Illinois. There's a big long bridge there, and it just doesn't feel good. It's perfectly fine.
Does it go high?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's super high, and you're super above everything, and there's nothing between you except for bridge. And I don't like it, but do I have a choice? No, or else I live in Gary, Indiana.
Well, and that's just the thing. It's like, what are you going to, there's only one way to get there.
Yeah.
And I understand that there are a couple of other smaller bridges connecting Duluth and Superior, but the Blatnik Bridge obviously is the main one. And there's all kinds of freight shipping that goes over those bridges. And so it's really critically important for commerce.
Yeah.
And this project, it's not like it's going to get done in a year.
No.
This is going to be a multi-year reconstruction of this bridge.
Which means they're going to have to,
lots of jobs.
Lots of jobs.
Lots
but
of jobs.
Also wondering, will they have to shut the bridge down for a short amount of time, then turn it into the 2 lanes on one side into 1 lane? Like, it's going to be tough.
It's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be an annoyance for people who live up there, but like any of these construction projects, unfortunately, you have to go through a short period of pain before things are done. And then hopefully it'll be another 65, 70 years before anything has to get done. But talking about all the jobs that this is going to bring, and these are going to be union jobs.
Yep. That's what one of the big things we talk about, like also with regard to the study they're going to do for the train. They're saying that, if the train gets built from Milwaukee to Madison to Minnesota, or not Madison, just outside Madison, all the way up, so many jobs. And that's what's good about these big bills is that
these big infrastructure projects,
they create jobs over time, and they, it's good stuff. And I wish people would listen to it. And believe it.
Well, and good paying jobs. And we've talked to a number of different people who are in the trades and encourage people to get into the trades. And some of these jobs are really fantastic paying jobs. You talk about family supporting jobs.
Mm-hmm.
That's what these are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We got a live stream comment from PJ Schlomer. It says the Mackinac Bridge is scary. I've never done the Mackinac Bridge, but
I haven't either.
I have to assume if you have the word bridge in there, it's scary.
All right. 844-967-2789. 844-967-2789. You can also leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and or Twitter. Quickly, Mike from Kenosha is joining us. Good morning, Mike. Thanks for joining us. What did you want to say?
Yeah, good morning. I listened to the infrastructure conversation and, how desperately not only that particular bridge up in Superior, but, ever since, what was it, the I-35 bridge?
In Minnesota.
St. Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was mid-'90s, as I recall, something like that. And yet that still wasn't enough to get the GOP behind any meaningful infrastructure proposal. So let me understand this. For 40 years plus, we have been closing the door and denying water, air, and transportation infrastructure issues. And then now that we finally are getting a little bit of traction and getting some results, the Republican Party want to slow it down and want to suspend or kill it. I just don't understand why how any group of the public can support a group like the Republicans in this case, who have failed in their responsibilities to allow us to have these updated, very critical infrastructure programs.
Well, if you remember, Mike, Donald Trump has a plan. It's going to come out in 2 weeks. His infrastructure plan is due any day now. I'm sure he'll have it ready should he be reelected. All right, we're up against the break. Stay with us. If you want to join and check in with us, you can always call or text at 844-967-2789. You're listening to Matenaer On Air, coming to you across the Civic Media Radio Network. Welcome to Matenaer On Air. Thank you so very much for joining us. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Calvin B. coming to you.
That was tough for you, wasn't it?
I stumbled on that one a little bit.
It's easy if you just say, the Board Lord.
The Board Lord. We're working on nicknames for our producer, Calvin. You can always join us at 844-967-2789, 844-96
Party.
Or leave a message on the live stream if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We will see your messages there as well. We were talking about President Biden visiting in Superior, Wisconsin today, touting the $1 billion that's coming to the area to rebuild and replace and refurbish the big Blatnik Bridge connecting Superior.
You can't.
Blatnik. It's just one of those Blatnik. It's like it's a Jerry Lewis kind of Blatnik bridge which connects Duluth and Superior. And it's a critically important infrastructure project, and it's really good for the area. Another big thing that happened yesterday that you may have missed was President Biden received the endorsements of the UAW.
Mm-hmm.
United Auto Workers.
Yes.
And if you recall, last summer, or was it fall? I know it
Fallish. It
Fallish.
happened right after. It happened right after the actor strike, between the writer strike, the actor strike, and then the auto worker
strike.
So some like summer fall.
President Biden did go and stood on the picket line with the UAW workers. At that time, Donald Trump held an event at a non-union shop.
Yep.
And apparently that did not go unnoticed by the UAW. Calvin, I believe we have a clip from Sean Fain talking about their endorsements of President Biden. Take a listen.
Donald Trump is a scab. When I first came into office, we made some headlines by saying that our endorsements would be earned, not freely given. We've said we'd stand with whoever stood with us in our fight. Not because somebody was nice to us and we want to be nice to them, but because we need to know who's going to put up and who's going to shut up. And going even further, we need to know who's going to stand up with us. And this choice is clear. Joe Biden bet on the American worker, while Donald Trump blamed the American worker. We need to know who's going to sit in the most powerful seat in the world and help us win as a united working class. So if our endorsements must be earned, Joe Biden has earned it.
That's Sean Fain. He's the president of the UAW, announcing that they are endorsing President Joe Biden in his re-election bid. And he was making the rounds on a lot of the news stations yesterday, and I caught quite a few of them. And he was on with Brett Baer on Fox News.
Yeah.
And just again pointed out after the in 2018, I mean, all of the moves that Donald Trump took to essentially undermine union workers and not offering his support to the unions. When a UAW plant was closing in Ohio, I remember this clearly. Donald Trump told people in Ohio, don't sell your houses. Everything's going to be fine. And then the plant closed.
Yep.
Whereas President Biden went to Illinois, and according again to Sean Fain, who's the president of the UAW, actually saved 2 UAW plants in Illinois. So these are pretty stark contrasts.
I mean, absolutely. And it would seem like a no-brainer, especially if you're a union person. And I give Sean Fain credit for going on all of the shows.
Yeah, he was everywhere yesterday.
I mean, as we know, we all know people who are union houses, who work in unions, who also vote Republican for some reason. I think it was important for him to go on those shows and say to him, at the end of the day, this is the person who's standing behind us. The other guy uses us or demonizes us. He used us in Ohio and he demonized us this summer. And why would you stand with that? He's not going to stand with you.
He's not going to stand with us. Yeah. And another thing to keep in mind, too, new numbers out yesterday from the U.S. Department of Labor, or Tuesday rather. Wisconsin's union workforce grew last year at the fastest rate in more than 30 years. So union membership is up.
Yeah.
It has been falling for decades. It's now less than half of what it was in 2000, but last year it rose by 9.6%.
Because people are starting to see that union jobs are good jobs.
They are good jobs.
And especially, with the education component, too, we talked about a couple months ago. You go to school and you learn how to get a trade job. You get into a union. You're going to be making good money. That's a good retirement. That's a middle class job. That's the working class job we talk about all the time. They're contained within those trades jobs, those union jobs. And I think you see a 9% rise. I think you're going to see even more because say what you will about Hollywood and the writers coming together with that kind of power and that sort of solidarity says something. So it's like, I'm not a Hollywood writer, but my dad My dad's a union plumber. Maybe I should do that. My mom's a carpenter. Maybe I should do that. I mean, it's just, and then once again, we go back to the idea of how do we throw this information into people's heads so they understand it? Because some people just want to say, no, it's not good.
Well, and it's important to remember also when we think of, at least when some people think of what the heyday was of the American middle class, that's when union membership was at its strongest.
Absolutely. And we had a government and a corporate culture that believed in the people far more than it does now.
Oh, yes.
And it believed in the education process. I mean, regardless, they wanted their kids to go to 4-year schools, but the opportunities were there to go to a 4-year school, to become a union draftsman, whatever. The heyday is far gone. It's never coming back in that form. Let's make our own heyday.
We'll make a new form now.
Yeah, exactly. It's a reboot. How about that for all you Hollywood types?
Love it.
We're going to take the heyday, reboot it. Way more inclusive. We're going to reboot this heyday.
If you want to join us, you can always call or text at 844-967-2789 or leave a comment on the live stream. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and or Twitter, we have news coming up next. If you're on the line, please hold. We will be right back with you. You're listening to Matenaer On Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. Welcome to Matenaer On Air. Thank you so very much for joining us. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Cool Cal Spee on the board.
What?
Coming to you live from our studio in downtown Waukesha. You can always join us at 844-967-2789, 844-96.
Party.
Leave a message on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter talking about President Biden stopping today in Superior to talk about the $1 billion coming to fix the and repair and or replace the very scary Blatnik Bridge, which connects Superior and Duluth. And I wanted to share this. Pat, who is listening in Green Bay, says the I-43 bridge in Green Bay is pretty scary, too. I've been over that bridge, and it is scary.
And you know what makes the bridge scary? Is when you have vast amounts of land on this side, especially when it's water. And you're just
the water factor.
You're just looking directly out and you just don't know what to do.
Yeah,
you're like,
it's unnerving.
And also the movie Stand By Me. If you understand that reference, the train dodging scene, oh my good gravy, good Lord. We got another text message from Jack from Merrimack.
Oh, Jack.
Where you been, buddy? Note that every single Wisconsin Republican voted against the infrastructure bill.
Yes,
that
every
is
single one.
1,000% true.
Yes.
And yet,
no, none of them have actually. Tom Tiffany, whose district this includes,
yeah,
at least from what I have seen, has not come out and said this is a great thing, because then he would have to get called on the fact that he actually voted against it.
Yeah, but
let's just not acknowledge it at all.
Let's see if he acknowledges the fact that jobs will happen in his district.
Again, then you have to give credit to President Biden. And
no, they don't.
Nobody wants to do that.
No, they don't.
844-967-2789 if you want to join the conversation. David from Mech 1, thank you for your patience, David, and thank you for joining us. What did you want to say?
Hey, good morning. Really quickly, so for the record, I actually was in two unions when I was much younger. I was actually at the Kohl's Food Store A&P union.
Sure.
And Chrysler. There was good and bad points about it. And the reason being, ultimately, I was in the Plymouth division, and they made some very bad decisions And ultimately, Plymouth no longer exists to this day. They got literally eliminated when they got purchased by Mercedes-Benz back in the day. I should point out there's an article that I think you guys should really take a little bit of a read from Tom Hall 5 days ago. World Socialist website. Just the last month, in the month of December, the big three, as we're transitioning to EV, electric vehicles, they've laid off 8,000 UAW workers between the big three. And I don't think people realize how many jobs are actually going to be eliminated as we make this transition. One, you don't need as many parts, obviously. Two, the cars are way more expensive than a combustion engine. Three, you have to realize that, when you have an electric vehicle, if you saw what just happened when you had the deep freeze and how the chargers were not working, you had all these stranded Teslas and everything else. There's a lot of things that people are not realizing. And, Ford is already announcing, $50,000 buyouts. It was just announced a few days ago to shave because the Ford F-150 Lightning is not selling. There's a glut of electric vehicles, and part of that is due to the fact that the range is horrendous. When you do have to replace the battery, it's going to cost you a minimum of $15,000, $16,000, $17,000.
Oh, I appreciate it, David. You're not wrong. I mean, but even Sean Fain, who is the president of the UAW, was asked about the EVs, and he said, "Look, American workers have always had to be adaptable.
Yeah,
we've always had to adapt." And unfortunately, and again, I don't think he's wrong. I don't think David is wrong that there are going to be some job losses within the auto industry as EVs become more popular and more of the norm. But look at all of the other industries that this has happened.
Well, and the two questions I have is, the whole claim about, I don't disagree. I'm sure that being in a union has its ups and downs, but
They're
know.
not all perfect. And there was plenty of shenanigans going on with some unions back in the day. And I think that's pretty well acknowledged.
But my question is I don't think it's the union's fault that Plymouth was bought out. Unions don't control whether or not a company is bought out. The people in the offices upstairs, he said that Plymouth was bought out by Mercedes-Benz. I'm like, well, that wasn't the union's fault. That was probably the bosses upstairs, the management. I'm not going to put blame on a buyout.
Well, but it depends. I mean, I'm assuming that Dave is inferring, that the union demands were so extensive that they had to get rid of this division.
At this point, so
I don't know that for sure.
And the other thing too is EV technology is expensive. It's still a pretty new technology to be taken up by the big three. The big three didn't start adopting this until a few years ago. And so, right now, and then maybe in 10, 15 years, the technology gets better, the range gets better, the price comes down. But I mean, people are going to lose their jobs. That's just the world we live in. And that's important. I'm not in a union, but I've lost my job because of cuts. And that sucks.
Just changes within industries.
Exactly.
It happens. And I do want to throw in one thing too for Dave. My husband has an EV. Yeah. And he bought it, I guess, last February. And he didn't have any problems during the cold snap. And he doesn't have a Tesla.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. It's not a Tesla.
We got another text. Let's see here. From a no name. Come on. 608 listed on WAUK. The Blatnik Bridge is known as the High Bridge. There is also a Bong Bridge connecting Duluth and Superior. I don't want to know its history because it's too much to laugh at.
I knew there were a couple other. I think there are two other bridges in Superior, but the Blatnik is certainly the main one.
Yeah,
and probably carries the most freight. There's like 33,000 trucks that pass it every day, so this is a big deal. Tom from LA, you've been very patient. Tom, thank you so much for joining us. What did you want to say?
Hey guys. First off, we the people ultimately are the government, and that means all of us. We need to remember the history of everything, and that is that 40 years of Reaganomics has actually destroyed this country, destroyed the union movement, and has brought us to where we are today. And the thing I would ask each and every person out there, whether you are a left or a right, progressive or a conservative, is exactly what you were talking about before. How many people on the Republican side voted for this infrastructure package? 0. How many people have voted or have taken the Medicaid expansion money from the federal government? 0. That's why your rural hospitals in Eau Claire and Chippewa Falls are now going out of business, because of the fact that you guys basically are just letting that money sit there that's given to you from your taxes, your money, going to the federal government has it, and you guys have said no because of Scotty Walker and the Republican Party. And the other thing I want you to think about, just think about this. If you have somebody in your party that says we are going to develop a strategy to implement the strategy, is what the words were from Scott Walker to Widow Hendricks. We're going to devise a strategy which is called divide and conquer.
Oh, I remember that.
Now, I know Wisconsin people are very, very smart, but the thing is, if we are the United States and we are about us and we are about us all being together collectively, then why would anybody vote for a party that says anything about dividing and conquering us?
Because when you're on the side of the person who says that, when that sounds sexy to you or attractive to you, of course you're going to be for that, because the people you want to divide aren't like you. They don't look like you.
Well,
they don't
it's othering.
It's othering. So I understand why people would go with that. I do. That makes sense to me because I know people who've done it. But at the end of the day, I mean, what you're saying originally, as far as like, you know, turning down money. And also, let's not forget the train that Scott Walker killed on day 2. That would have brought us $850 million.
But he did sign off on Foxconn.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He did sign off on Foxconn, which, by the way, congratulations, Microsoft, on your new land.
Yeah. Good deal for Micro. 844-967-2789, 844-967-2789, or leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, talking about President Biden stopping today in Superior to tout the $1 billion coming to help rebuild and refurbish the Blatnik Bridge, which separates Duluth, Superior from Duluth and Superior. Yes, Duluth, Minnesota and Superior, Wisconsin.
You did it.
I'm seeing it in my head. I also want to share this with you quickly, too. MSNBC just reporting, this came out this morning, the economy grew 3.3% in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Economists now are describing this as an A-plus economy, and that this economy is about as good as it can possibly get. And if you look into, and I know that a lot of people are not feeling this yet. They are not feeling the benefits of these numbers. When you see these numbers, the stock market broke another record yesterday.
And they may never feel it if you're not.
But one of the reasons why prices are still high is because of greed.
Yeah.
It's corporate price gouging. And they use the pandemic as the reason. And certainly there were supply chain issues and all of those things that were valid. But since those things have eased, they're raking in the profits big time.
I asked that question sometime last year. We had an economist on last year, and I asked the question, when things get better, why don't prices go down? Why don't they ever lower the prices? They don't.
They don't.
Because they don't have to. Because at the end of the day, those companies know we will pay X amount for this item. Some of the price raising goes up because you just have to raise some prices. But like you said, you got supply chain, pandemic, you got the regular cost rising, and then boom, there you go. Your toothpaste is $3 more, but you need toothpaste, so you're going to pay for it. And they know that, so they have no reason to lower those prices. No reason to say, hey, thanks for sticking with us through the hard times. We'll knock $1 off for you.
Well, and it's even easier when you have 3 to 5 companies that essentially own everything.
Yes.
They own everything. So it's not like we have a lot of options to go somewhere else for our toothpaste.
Yeah. I'm not doing natural. Disgusting.
The baking soda.
So here's the question I have really quick. I'm going to ask this question super quick. Record growth, record job creation.
Record low unemployment.
Record low unemployment in state of Wisconsin and the country. Stock market doing great. What will it take for those who sit there and go, the economy sucks? What will it take for it to affect you to make you change your mind? Will you change your mind once someone else is in the office of the president? Or is there something personal like a raise?
A raise, exactly.
Or, seeing prices coming down on your necessary goods you buy.
And rent. It's also housing and rent. And that's a whole nother animal.
I got this update from CNN. The president doesn't control rent. So what will it take for you as a person to say the economy is doing better and actually believe the information that's coming out? Because we're not lying. The
numbers are the numbers.
This isn't a conspiracy theory. All the economists got together to say, let's fool them by telling them it's good stuff. The economy is strong. It's growing almost to a point where we're like, okay, when's it going to bottom out? What will it take for you to believe? That's what I want to know.
844-967-2789, 844-967-2789. Leave a comment on the live stream if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Stay with us. This is Matenaer On Air, coming to you across the Civic Media Radio Network.
Billy Joe caught up to the very next day. They got the money, hey, they got away. Headed down south and they're still running today. Singing, go on, take the money and run. Go on, take the money and run. Go on, take the money and run. Go on, take the money and run.
Good morning. Welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, the board lord, coming to you live from our studio in beautiful downtown Waukesha. You can always join us. You can call or text at 844-967-2789 or leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, talking about President Biden stopping in Superior today, talking about the $1 billion project to replace and fix the Blatnik Bridge, the big connecting bridge between Duluth and Superior. Also talking about the economic numbers. They're good. They are good, but a lot of people still are not feeling it. And again, the question is, what do you need to see? What kind of effect personally do you need to see to believe that things are getting better?
And I'm going to say right now, Joe Biden out and or Donald Trump in are not acceptable answers.
Yeah, we need something a little bit more concrete than that.
We need, and something maybe a little more research-based or detail-wise.
844-967-2789. Scott from St. Louis. Good morning, Scott. Thank you for joining us. What did you want to say?
Good morning. Just wanted to say, I think the people that think that the economy is still bad will never agree that the economy is good because they can't see the difference between a strong economy and the cause of their price problem, because that's capitalism, and they love capitalism, and they can't recognize that the cause of the prices isn't the economy, it's capitalism. And so as long as their prized capitalism is a good thing, they can't recognize that's the cause of the prices.
That's a free market, right, Scott? It's a free market at work, isn't it?
They want their free market, but they don't want the price that comes with it.
Yep. They want their money, but they don't want to pay. They don't want to pay their taxes. They want all the things, but they don't want to do this or that. And honestly, I'll Scott, if I may ask your permission, hold your hand into another point and walk together. I also think the thing too is if they were to say the economy is good, they're also handing the other side a win with just a simple compliment. And we're at the point now
you can't do
where
that.
We cannot do that.
You definitely cannot.
The moment you say that they have done anything for good, you are weak, you are a rhino, you are just not part of the plan, my brother.
You're not part of the party anymore.
Yeah, you are out. So, yeah, I mean, very, very good point, Scott. Very good point.
Thank you so much, Scott. Really appreciate it. You can always join us as well. 844-967-2789. 844-967-2789. Along those same lines, there are reports now this morning that there will be no border deal. Mitch McConnell, in a closed-door meeting with Republicans, there will be no border deal because Donald Trump wants to run on it as an issue. So they're not going to fix anything because Donald Trump wants to use it as an issue. And we've talked about this for months.
Mitch McConnell pulling out one of the greatest hits. What did he do when Scalia died? We're not going to appoint a new.
Oh, right, because it wouldn't be right.
It's
too close. It's too close.
It's 9 months from the election. Right. Yet before Ruth Bader Ginsburg's body was cold, they were already.
Amy Coney Barrett was in.
You know, so how much do you care about law and order? How much do you care about the country when you are willing to hold all of these major points hostage?
Just to avoid giving the other side a win.
Yeah.
844-967-2789. Jam from Racine is on the line. Good morning, Jam. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, good morning.
What do you want to say, Jam?
Huh?
What did you want to say?
Oh, I wanted to say, all those that are listening, with the economy being good, bad, whatever, you have to make yourself a valuable asset. I'm going back to talking about getting a skill, learning how to do something, which makes you a valuable asset because futuristically, prices are going to go up. They always go up.
Mm-hmm.
Technology, everything's like improving. Like I'm a retired surgical tech. From when I first started, there's so much. You have to make yourself a valuable asset so that you are capital. So you either are taking something out of the system or putting something in. And why not just? There's so much. Just go for it. There's programs like make yourself a valuable asset for the future because the future's it's coming whether you're ready or not. You gotta go along with it, and just, I'm just saying, everybody just become a valuable asset. Learn how to do something.
Yeah.
Well, and self-improvement, right? I mean, pick up another skill, learn something different, even within your own business, even in your own industry.
Yeah.
You can learn other factors of that business.
But then comes the important discussion point of opportunity as well, educational opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in the world of tech and vocational schools. I mean, those schools, you want to learn a trade, it's not very expensive as opposed to a 4-year school. And there just needs to be the opportunity available for people
to access
better. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a lot about access. Thank you so much, Jam. Really appreciate it. You can always join us as well at 844-967-2789, 844-967-2789, or leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We did want to mention one thing on the live stream, and I think it's important.
Yes.
That we mention this, and we do ask for your comments, and we genuinely appreciate them, except when it's things like this. Tony Evers is a clown. It's time for him to step down. Okay.
I appreciate the rhyme scheme.
Me too. And you are certainly entitled to your opinion.
Absolutely.
But that's not an argument.
That's not.
If all you have are insults, you have no argument.
Yes.
So if you want to debate something, then give me something concrete, not just that so-and-so is a Yahoo and they need to go away. That's not a compelling reasonable argument.
Tony Evers is a clown. Well, tell me why. Well, Hunter Biden. That's not an argument.
That's not an argument.
If you don't like Tony Evers, that's fine. You don't like Joe Biden?
You're absolutely entitled to that. Absolutely.
Go for it. But there is no evidence to point to that says that this country is not doing better right now and our economy is not incredibly strong. Dislike them all you want, but there's no denying it.
Well,
I'm trying to think of ways that they can hand them a win without handing them a win, and there's none.
There really isn't.
There's no way they can do it.
There really isn't. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene said this week that if you are not completely on the Trump train, we will eviscerate you from this party. So it's no longer the Republican Party. It is the party of Trump.
She reminds me of like that lady who stands next to the bad guy, the final boss, who's like, who will do anything. He snaps a finger and she just walks up and smacks you in the face, and you should learn.
That's MTG. All right. We have the news coming up next. And when we return, it's time for a public service announcement with Dr. Kristen Lyerly. Stay close. You are listening to Matenaer On Air, coming to you across the Civic Media Radio Network.